Hey everybody, welcome back to Battle Ready Inc. So this week's feature match, we saw Blue Hybrid running an Azulongmon package in it, and honestly, when that Azulongmon hit the field, it just instantly devastated the opponent. With all the removal that Blue Hybrids can do for Digivolution sources, it really makes Azulongmon just an easy top throw-in mega with the Beowulf Mod, things like that. Just really fits in the deck super easy, and you don't really have to cut hardly anything just to toss them in there. So that's what this build is focused on, so let's get into this. Also, don't forget our memory marker this month is going to be the Armor Egg of Friendship here. This is for that Vmon, Raikyurimon. Great memory marker. This is handmade out of clay by my wife. Super awesome memory marker. Really like this thing. So if you're excited for some armor digivolving or the Pyildramon deck coming out in the future, definitely want to get your hands on one of these guys. It's going to make an absolutely awesome memory marker for those decks. Now, if you want any of our previous memory markers we've had on the channel, check the coffee link in the description below. There you can get access to all the previous memory markers we've had on the channel. The benefit, though, if you go through Patreon, you get the featured memory marker of the month for usually a better deal. Alright, so let's go ahead and jump into this card by card. First up, we have our babies here, and we have the Kumamon, and really, this thing is all you need, honestly. Just your turn, once per turn, when one of your opponent's Digivolution sources cards is trashed, trigger draw one. That's great. I mean, there's not really much else to say. You will do that constantly. We do have a decent amount of rookies that can digivolve on top of our eggs. Not a whole lot, though. So I think there's argument to just run these 4 and you don't need a 5th egg just because you're not going to digivolve that many rookies. But yeah, you're going to trigger this thing all the time. So you put like a memory blocker on top of this, promote it up there, and just kind of leave it off to the side, and you'll just generate tons and tons of value off this. Pretty much every single turn, just about. If I had one of these on field, I was always getting value. I would delete a Digivolution source every single turn whenever I play this deck. And so you're going to get tons of value out of this. Absolutely wonderful. So almost completely eliminates the need for Upamon. But if you do want a 5th egg, he is a solid choice because, like I said, you will clear so many Digivolution sources from your opponent that triggering this is super easy. So yeah, just a solid 5th egg if you want it, but I really don't think it's even necessary. Next up, we got our rookie package. First up, we have the Strawbeamon. This is the original BT4 on play, reveal 3, add 1 tamer and 1 hybrid. It fits perfectly in this deck. I don't know what to tell you. In a blue deck that's all about hybrids, yeah, he's a fabulous choice. We have an absolute mountain of hybrids in this deck. A ton of hybrids to hit, and a ton of tamers as well. So great choice, absolutely. Don't know what to say other than that. Next, we got Strawbeamon. So this is kind of an awkward spot in the deck, right? So no on-play effect or his own effect. It's just this inheritable, but this inheritable is so strong that I don't think you can overlook it. So when attacking once per turn, if this Digimon has hybrid or 10 warriors in its form or type, gain 1 memory. The issue is all of your level 4s are hybrids. You're going to want to digivolve all of your level 4s on top of your tamers. I mean, that's just how it is. You really want to do that. Now, can you digivolve on top of these guys? Absolutely. There was a few times where I even went into the, Kurikakumon? This guy right here, Kurikakumon. A few times I went into him, it's a 3 evo cost on top of this guy. But if my opponent has a memory fixer on field anyways, I'm not trying to choke them on memory, so it wasn't too bad of a choice to go on top of. And then after that, I can get so much value out of this gaining 1 memory. I was like, once I started evoing on top of this guy, I really wanted to play more of him. It's hard to justify digivolving on top of him, but he is very good, so I did want to at least include him in the deck, but he is kind of a flex spot. You could maybe cut him if you wanted to. He's just, when you do get his effect going, it's really good. Next up, we've got Susanomon. This thing is kind of interesting in this format. So your opponent can't reduce Digivolution cost. You might be wondering, well, what does that have to do with anything? So all of the new level 5 hybrids, they reduce their Evo cost from 3 down to 1. So this single-handedly shuts down tons of combos. So a Memory Fixer on field allows you to go 2 Evo cost into a hybrid, and then 1 Evo cost into those megas, and then still swing with it. So having one of these on field prevents that reduction. So I think there's a good argument to run a couple of these. I wouldn't go overboard with it. It does at least go against a lot of decks. So there's so many hybrid decks running around this format between yellow and blue and even green. Some people even, I mean, the Emperor Greymon is still pretty cool too for red. So there's great things that, you know, you're hitting. Lots of great decks, popular decks, you know, that we're going to be seeing played a whole lot. And this hits all of them. Now, is it going to be super impactful like a memory blocker? Not as impactful, but if you see the play coming where you know it's about to happen, just slam one of these down to pass turn with and just stop your opponent dead in their tracks. So I do have it as a 2 of in here. Next, we got the Modoki Betamon here, and this is your memory blocker, okay? We've seen how memory blockers are super important in the past. Thankfully, we don't have to deal as many ice walls anymore once BT7 drops, but you're still going to have to deal with all the hammer sparks. All the hammer sparks in security, the 1 ice wall that can be in security, and then all of the just the delay effects. So Howling Memory Boost is going to be really good in this format in blue hybrid. So they do tons of stunning if your opponent doesn't have Digivolution sources, which is exactly what Howling Memory Boost also does. So you can really double dip on these abilities. So we're going to see a whole lot of memory gaining out of blue once again. And if blue really takes over in the meta, this is going to be a great one to stick in there. But not just that, he also counters this next card. And this next card, Bokomon, is used in every single hybrid deck. Okay, every single hybrid deck you're running for Bokomon. This card is good. Okay, this card is phenomenal. So 3 play cost rookie, pretty standard stuff there. On play, reveal 5 cards from the top of your deck. Add 1 card with hybrid in its form or 10 warriors in its type, and 1 tamer card among them to your hand. So you get to add 2 cards, which is great. Reveal 5, so hitting something is a lot easier. Usually the reveal 3, add 2, those are difficult to pull off, but a reveal 5, add 2 is very good, and it's 1 tamer and a Digimon, so you're going to get some really good value out of that. But it doesn't stop there. So not only like that alone is worth playing him. The 3 play cost to reveal 5, I get to add a hybrid and a tamer. That's basically what Strawbeamon does for the same exact play cost, for the same exact DP. But you get 5 cards, so 2 more, and this second effect, which is your turn. Once per turn, when your tamer card digivolves, gain 2 memory. So this is where the memory blockers are really going to shine this format. Stopping the Bokomon. This is going to make all of their level 4 hybrids free. 2 Evo cost hybrids on top of tamers with Bokomon on field are essentially free now, because you're going to pay 2 to evolve and then gain 2 back. That's insane. Okay, that's so strong. Like, I don't want to say it's busted, because it doesn't like prevent your opponent from doing anything. Like, that's the issue with like cards like Ice Wall, is it impacts your opponent's turn so like severely. This just makes your turn a little bit better. So yeah, very powerful card for sure. Then next we've got Kumamon. This is going to be a new hybrid for blue. So since blue already has their generic in Lobomon, we get a new 2 cost Evo tame or hybrid, sorry, and we get an effect with it. So when digivolving, trash 1 Digivolution card from the bottom of one of your opponent's Digimon. So not like super crazy, like over the top effect, but it is a nice little addition. It works great with the deck. We're doing tons of trashing of Digivolution sources, so it's just a little bit more on top of everything else. Also, it's going to work great with another card that we're going to get to. And then next, we've got the Korikakumon. So this is the one 1 cost Evo on top of a level 4, which is really good just for some more cycling, drawing through your deck, as well as you can activate its when Digivolving effect, like super cheap, or 2 Evo cost on top of a Tamer, standard hybrid Evo, or 3 on top of a rookie. Now, like I said earlier, there are cases sometimes where Digivolving on top of a rookie isn't that bad. If you're going to pass to your opponent anyway, and they have a memory fixer on field, who cares if you give them 3 memory? They're going to start at 3 memory anyway. But the big part here is when Digivolving, if a card with hybrid in its trait or Tommy is in this Digimon's Digivolution cards, one of your opponent's Digimon with no Digivolution cards can't attack or block until the end of their next turn. Wow, that is so good. So just stuns so hard. So you're going to get tons of Evos on hybrids on top of your Tommies, and then just stun your opponent out, preventing them from doing anything. So we'll get to Tommy in a bit, but Tommy's ability is on play trash. It's either 2 or 3 Digivolution sources from underneath the target. So you play him and then Digivolve into the Kumamon, and the Kumamon then stuns whatever that target was. So very, very powerful card. Definitely, there's a reason he's the thumbnail photo, is because he is so good. He's literally what makes Blue Hybrid so much of a possibility, just because of the amount of stuns that you can do and just holding your opponent at bay until you can get into whatever boss monster you're trying to get into. And then first up for our mini boss of the deck, we've got Beowulf Mod. This one was really popular in the JP format as basically like the main boss monster of the deck besides Susanomon, but of course we know Mega Digimon Fusion is gone, so Susanomon a little lower on his totem pole than he was before, so just more important of why Beowulf Mod is so important. But this is one of those level 5 I was talking about, when your Digimon that has a Tamer card in its Digivolution cards digivolves into this card in your hand, reduce the Digivolution cost by 2. So making him a 1 cost Evo level 5 every time, basically. And then when attacking, you may return 1 Digimon card with hybrid in its form from this Digimon's Digivolution cards to your hand to return 1 of your opponent's level 4 or lower Digimon to its owner's hand. So one thing to note about this is it just says 1 card with hybrid. There's no like level restriction, so you can bounce a level 3 to bounce a level 4 to hand. If you're familiar with Magna Garurumon, which is the level 6 version of this, it's dependent on the level. So you bounce a level 4, you have to bounce a level 4 of your opponents. You bounce a level 5 from the Digivolution sources, you have to bounce a level 5 from your opponents. Or it might be level 5 or lower. But this is just a static. Just any hybrid goes to hand, and you can bounce a level 4. So just completely nullifies the opponent's blockers, basically. So anyone that's going to run blockers against you, you're just going to bounce them to hand constantly. So you've got Kakumamon stunning all the blockers, and then you got Beowulf Mon bouncing them all to hand. Yeah, very, very brutal combos that you can do now. So you don't want to like basically leave anything on your opponent's side of the field unless it's level 5 or higher, and you're playing against blue. There's a good chance they're probably going to either stun it or bounce it back to hand. So you can't leave anything too low level in this format on field. After that, we've got Azulongmon, which a lot of us should be pretty familiar about this guy. He's kind of like the new pseudo boss monster of the deck. Since Susanomon, we can't go into Susanomon for 1 cost or 0 cost anymore. When you go into Susanomon, you basically will always pass your turn. So because of that, he's a lot easier to clear off field using removal on him, lots of different ways to get him off the field before he can even swing in. So I think it's good to have another form of a boss in the deck and a couple level 6s. We've got 4 level 5s in the deck, so just toss in 2 megas and call it a day. Whatever blue mega you want. I just really like Azulongmon because we've got so much stun in the deck and just like control of our opponent's field that we need a little bit of punch. And I really like Azulongmon for that punch because his whole Evo, all of his abilities just play into the deck. With us trashing Digivolution sources, this is great. Also, a massive whopping 13,000 DP. So that's swinging over pretty much every mega in the game that we have to worry about for the most part. That's going to be in there. So any kind of level 7s, of course, that's going to be a different story. But those are usually in such low quantities in decks, like 2-3 copies, that 13,000 is going to be enough every time. But when Digivolving, trash 1 Digivolution card from the bottom of all of your opponent's Digimon, then gain 1 memory for each of your opponent's Digimon with no Digivolution cards. So because we trash so much of our opponent's stuff, of all of our effects getting into the Azulongmon, by the time we get into Azulongmon, there might be like 1-2 sources out there, and we just blanket remove 1 from all the opponent's field. This very easily can be like a 2-3 Evo cost. So if you have a memory fixer in play, then instantly you can very easily just Evo into this guy for 3 Evo pretty easily. I know I said easily a lot, but it really is. And then for each Digimon with no Digivolution cards your opponent has in play, this Digimon gains security attack +1. So you can then punch in for, 3-4 security checks. I mean, I would imagine to getting to this point, you've probably done some security checks already. So then he can very easily just clear the rest of them. And then you just need that 1 hybrid to swing for game. So whether, you're popping a couple Hammer Sparks to get you there, or a Howling memory boost to give you a bonus 2 memory, very, very easily to close out. I'm not saying this is any sort of OTK strategy or anything like that. I don't believe an Azulongmon deck is an OTK deck. I know other YouTubers really try to push that bill, Azulongmon OTK deck. It can only be an OTK deck if your opponent is stupid and then just goes for a huge board and lets it happen. So no one's gonna do that. I wouldn't think, at least. I wouldn't think anyone's gonna put up 4 or 5 Digimon on their field and just none of them have Digivolution sources. That's just death waiting to happen. So anytime the opponent has to set up for you to do something, it's not an OTK. But he is still very powerful. Either way, he is very, very powerful. And then we got Susanomon himself, which we already kind of discussed. He's still good, okay? You can Digivolve him on top of a Tamer. If you put 10 Tamers or hybrids from your trash or hand to the bottom of your deck. Blue likes to bounce a lot of their Digivolution sources back to hand, so they don't fill up the trash as fast as the other hybrid decks do. But that's okay, because since we're bouncing them back to hand, and Susanomon says we can use the ones in our hand, then it's not so bad. So that's really cool. And then when Digivolving, delete one of your opponent's Digimon. So a nice blanket, 7 Evo on top of a hybrid. In a hybrid deck, you're going to have tons of 7 Evo on top of a Tamer. In a hybrid deck, you're going to have tons of Tamers. Not that big a deal. So 7 memory to delete one of your opponent's Digimon. That's really good. I mean, that's just really, really solid. Most removal is going to be like 8 or higher. So, 1 less. And I get a 15k body on field that also has security attack +2. Yeah, my opponent has to immediately deal with the Susanomon on their turn. Yeah, I'm going to probably give them a decent amount of memory to work with, but they're going to have to spend their whole turn basically focusing in on the Susanomon. And if they try to go for any free security checks, they're just going to hurt themselves, especially if they hit into something like an Ice Wall or a Hammer Spark that's going to then pass the turn away. So if they don't use all their memory and focus in on killing the Susanomon, and they try to go for some extra security checks before they play their Gaia Force or whatever, and they hit into something that passes turn, they're going to feel super bad. So basically, you get to remove something off field, and then the opponent has to put all their big, heavy hitting option cards or whatever into removing the Susanomon before it can do any sort of big damage. So really good either way. I mean, either way you want to look at it. He's a massive beat stick that can put in some work, or he is a massive target that your opponent cannot just let sit there. Next up, we got the 1 Ice Wall. I really shouldn't have to talk about this card. This card's busted. At a 1 of, it's okay. You can't go turn after turn after turn playing an Ice Wall anymore, or you can't double tap Ice Wall so that way your opponent has to pass 4 memory back to you. Whatever. You get one good shot. All right, you got to make this card count and put in some work for you. I mean, this is very much a Hail Mary. I'm about to lose. Last ditch effort. Let me slam down this Ice Wall. Give me one more turn. Give me one more turn. That's all this card is, because that's all you're going to get is one more turn. And then after that, we got Hammer Spark rolling in at a 4 of, a big whopping 4 of. I just like Hammer Spark. I mean, I think a lot of other players are really starting to miss the Hammer Spark. We've had all these other cards like the Blue Memory Boost, the Howling Memory Boost, the Ice Walls, and things like that. But I've noticed as EX1 in Classic Collection has progressed, slowly getting further and further, the number of Hammer Sparks in decks has been going back up. It dropped way down. Like, it was at 2 ofs in some decks. Some decks at 0. And literally as the format's gone, people are like, I miss Hammer Spark. Hammer Spark's good. I want to keep bumping up Hammer Spark. All right, we're back to 4 Hammer Sparks in blue. All right, this feels a little more classic, and it's so good. You just can make so many good plays. Just one extra memory can just absolutely change a game. And then hitting this card in security. Oh my god, like that also is a game changer. I've literally seen games lost just due to a single Hammer Spark getting hit in security. I've lost games to it. I've won games because of it. It's a truly powerful card and absolutely worthy at a 4 of back in blue. Happy to see it. Next, we got Howling Memory Boost. Another one that just works great in the deck. Trash up to 2 Digivolution cards from the bottom of one of your opponent's Digimon. Then one of your opponent's Digimon with no Digivolution cards can't attack or block until the end of your opponent's next turn. And then delay 2, so you get 2 memory off of it. So basically the same thing kind of Kumamon is doing, where it's stunning if they have no Digivolution sources, but this also trashes Digivolution sources at the same time to help guarantee that you're going to get that ability. Just works great with the deck. Trashing Digivolution sources, so we're going to be triggering our baby to draw cards off of it as well, and then stunning something, and then because they probably didn't do anything with it that turn, now you get to, when it comes back to you, it still has no Digivolution sources, so then you can do something else, stun it again with a Kumamon, or just get other sorts of value, because you basically set up a turn prior that he's not going to have any Digivolution sources, so you're going to stun him, and then set up for the following turn to get even more value out of this card. So really, really good in this blue hybrid deck. Next, we got Tommy, and this is our new tamer for blue. So on play, trash 3 Digivolution cards. It was 3 from the bottom of one of your opponent's Digimon. So on play effect, boom, trash 3. Like, that's going to be a whopping amount of sources, especially if you're going against other hybrids. So they're going to start with a tamer, and then they're going to have their level 4 and their level 5. So in most cases, Tommy is going to every single time clear every single source from underneath a Digimon, unless you're playing something like X Antibody, and that's a little different story. But for what we expect to see a lot of, Tommy will pretty much always clear. And then when that happens, you can then Digivolve the Kumamon directly on top of the tamer, on top of the Tommy, and immediately stun something. But in addition to that, when attacking once per turn until the end of your opponent's next turn, one of your opponent's Digimon with no Digivolution cards can attack or block. So the same thing as Kumamon, but instead of a win Digivolving, it's a win attacking. So that's the benefit of going into a Kumamon, is you have the Tommy, and then you go into Kumamon, who's going to trash one source, and then you swing with the Kumamon, and then you're going to activate the Tommy ability to stun something. So it balances out. So both hybrids are very good with Tommy, just because of this inheritable working with them. So really, really great stuff for sure. Tommy's great. And then Davis, of course, in every blue deck ever, this card's price just keeps going up and up and up without a reprint. And it will continue to go up because of Imperial Jamon, and then the armors as well, making Vmon just absolutely super strong, and especially because those have blue and green in them, so you're going to get tons of value off of Davis. Right now, we're only getting the blue, so reveal top 3, add basically a blue Digimon to hand, and he's our memory fixer. He's a great memory fixer for blue. Absolutely love him. Have him in here as a 3 of. 3 of is okay. He is a big 4 play cost, so he is pretty big. You don't want to have to keep playing multiple Davises. Sometimes it comes up, but I think 3 of is still fine. And then the last card in the deck, and this one's only at a 3 of, but absolutely there is argument to run this card at a 4 of because it is so good. Start of your turn, if your opponent has a Digimon with no Digivolution cards in play, gain 2 memory. With all the source trashing that we're doing, we've talked about it so much, you're going to trigger this thing constantly. If you have one on field, I pretty much can almost guarantee every single turn you will trigger the Sora and Joe. And then your turn, when you attack with a blue Digimon, you may suspend this tamer to trash up to 2 Digivolution cards from the bottom of one of your opponent's Digimon. So you do that, you activate this, And then you can use something like the when attacking Tommy ability to then stun it. So you go Sora and Joe, remove the sources, and then Tommy inheritable, stun it. Wonderful combos for sure. Just enables so much. And then get that draw from the baby inheritable as well. Yeah, absolutely could see running this thing at a 4 of, because God, yeah, 4 of these on the field at one time. Ooh, and you're pretty much going to be getting the checks every single time. At start of your turn, if your opponent has something on field, you're probably going to be gaining it because you're going to make sure that your opponent doesn't have any sources. So very, very much could fit it in there. The issue that I was running into though was that finding room for it. Honestly, the deck feels tight. Something you could drop is, you could get rid of the Susanomon here for the reduction, if you don't want to stop the level 5s. You could, drop this completely and then add in, a tamer each right here. You could bump up the Strawbeamon if you want to for that memory gain. I do really wish I could run more of this, but at the same time, it's an expensive Evo, and we don't want to lose any sort of abilities or anything like that off of it. The Kumamon digivolving on top of it is still a steep cost, unfortunately. But so much good value out of all of this. It all is so good. Like, you want to run all of it. You almost wish you could run a little bit bigger of a deck just to fit all these wonderful things in here at more copies. But I definitely see a good argument for this Sora and Joe. If you can, something in here that you can't find doing you enough work for you, like I said, this Susanomon here is like the biggest contender, like the biggest weak point, I guess. Everything else is super strong. This is strong in limited situations, and that's basically the takeaway, that both of these guys are limited situations where they're useful. You could even drop that down to 2 and just make it a big blanket, and then just kind of test. It's like, oh well, I really think I should have more memory blockers to deal with Pokemon and then the blue matchup and everything like that. There's so much you can do with this deck, but at the same time, it all feels super tight. You just got to fit it in where you can.